But it's that quiet belonging tax. Like, you have to stay acceptable to be taken seriously. Because if you don't question it, it doesn't just shape your hair. It shapes your habits. You end up editing yourself in other places too. You're not speaking your truth. You're not being visible. You're hiding yourself. You're not showing up at networking events. Not raising your hand and volunteering and say, yeah, I want to do this. Namaste. Be yourself. Great advice, right? Yeah, especially for women in midlife, like we are, like I am. The only problem with that is that our culture has a tendency to want us to think otherwise. And this became apparent to me recently when I was deciding to do some decluttering. Before the first of the year, I was in this mode of trying to clear out the old before the new came in. And so my mom I've inherited from her this lovely recipe box. And in it were all types of, she had little index cards with recipes on them. She had a whole bunch of newspaper clippings and magazine clippings dating back to, I think the earliest one I saw was from sometime in the 1950s. So it was a long time ago. And I'm going through these and, kind of looking at them and saying, is this something I really want to make? Nah. And I would toss it. And then there were a couple that were like, well, yeah, I might fix this for myself sometime. And so I would save it. But then I came across one that it was this folded piece of paper. Now, most of these were little tiny scraps, that she'd like cut out of a newspaper. But this one was a whole big full page from a magazine, actually. And in fact, it was from Family Circle magazine. I don't even know if they're still around these days, but they were in the 1970s. And so on this one side were all of these low calorie recipes. My mom and I both have dealt with our weight over the years. And so she was, that was a lot of the things that she was collecting. In fact, actually for a while, she was a Weight Watchers lecturer when I was really, really low. But anyway, so there's these low calorie recipes. But then I flipped it over. And what I saw on the other side was an ad for a Clairol product, hair coloring, called Nice and Easy. And if you're listening to this podcast, I encourage you to, after you're done listening to it, you might want to go to my YouTube channel and watch it, because on the YouTube channel, I actually have the ad, because I wanted to. I've since thrown it out, but I saved the picture of it. So anyway, the headline, the bold headline on this, the ad pictures a woman. She's got her head leaning back, her long brown hair is flowing, and there's a lovely cropped in the corner picture of a man sort of nuzzling her neck. And she's, smiling. But the headline says, "It lets me be me." And then you go down to the bottom and it tells you a little bit more about Nice and Easy hair color. But the part that really caught my eye was where it says, "Now, whether you want to color or conceal." And I went, isn't that interesting? Yeah. So in other words, this hair color is going to let me be me as long as I don't look like me. I don't know about that. So what I think is that the real product here isn't hair dye. It's actually shame. And this idea that our natural self as we get older, as those gray hairs start to come in, is something that needs to be covered up, that needs to be corrected. And maybe that's why the tagline down at the bottom of this ad in small print, there's a picture of the box of hair color, and it says nice and easy hair color. And below it, now nice and easy hair color is in bold font, by the way, but then in not bold font underneath it, it says it sells the most. Yeah, I don't doubt that. Fear has always been profitable. I wanted to take that out. There we go. I wanted to put I accidentally put the hair color ad as full screen instead of putting me as full screen. So this got to me thinking about my mom, not just about all these recipes that she had cut out, but also about her relationship with hair coloring. Now again, I know she didn't save that for the hair color ad. She saved that for the low calorie recipes, which also, now that I come to think of it, is something else. Oh, yeah. In fact, I'm getting emotional just thinking about it. Wow. Yeah. It's not just shame over how our hair looks, but it's also how we look physically. And that my mom was always had this, or let's put it this way, since I was a kid. Now, I don't remember looking what pictures. I'd have to go back in and look at pictures of her with my brother and sister, my older brother and sister, because there's a 10-year difference between my sister and I. And so I don't know what my mom's weight was when she was with them. Probably a little bit heavy, probably not as thin as she would like to be. But my point is that my mom was always, for as long as I've known her, except for this brief time when I was little, when she had lost a lot of weight, and she did it through Weight Watchers, and she became a Weight Watchers lecturer. So she was helping other, probably mostly women, but I know men too, to be able to lose weight. But after that, she wound up putting weight back on, and she was always, like I say, I remember growing up always dealing with her weight. The weight would come on, and then but later in life, it was always kind of increasing. And that's also, we're supposed to be the culture tells us that we're supposed to be young and thin, and if we're not, then there's something wrong with us. And that sucks. Okay. I'm not going to mince words with this. This sucks. So yeah. So anyway, I got sidetracked by the weight thinking about that, but also the hair coloring for her too, is that I know when she was, I think in her late 50s, because I think I was in high school probably at the time. There's a big difference in ages between my mom and I. She was 37 when I was born, I believe. Yeah, 37 when I was born. So I was the caboose, as she liked to call me, the last one of the, the baby of the family. But she started coloring her hair. Like I said, I think she was probably in her late 50s. She was working full time then. And I suspect that she started coloring her hair because she didn't really want people to see the gray hair as a, in your face acknowledgement of the fact that she was getting older. Even though, let's face it, well, I think her face was okay, actually, now that I think about it. I don't think she really had wrinkles too much. We inherited good Hungarian genes from my grandmother, because I know my grandmother, when she was in her 80s, still looked like she was in her 60s, and because she had really good skin. And so I think my mom probably had that as well. But anyway, so So my point about this is that I don't even know what her hair would have looked like. I don't know how much gray hair she would have ever had because she colored it right up until her passing at 78. She was always dyeing it, you know, some sort of blonde highlights and things that she would have. And, it's, I wondered, I know she liked going to the hair salon every week to get her hair done. I think that was a treat for her. But the coloring part of it, though, I wonder, because I know if she really enjoyed it. That's what I was going to say before I go on, because I know for me, I also used to. I didn't color it. I didn't, dye it all one color because that just seemed to be like way too much for me to deal with. But I know when I was a kid, so I had sort of dark blonde hair, but I would get in the summertime, I would get these little streaks of really, really blonde hair, right? I used to wear my hair parted in the middle, it was long, and then I would get these two blonde streaks on either side of my face. And so I think when I graduated from high school, um, the one thing I did was get a perm. That was the first thing I decided to do. But then I also decided to start highlighting my hair because my hair had turned quite dark in my teen years. And so I missed having those blonde highlights. And so I started getting my hair frosted. And I did that for probably a good 15 years or so. And it's expensive. It does get expensive after a while. But I'm not here. I don't want to say that, if you are listening to this and you're going like, well, I color my hair and I'm okay with it. Fine. If you're okay with it and if you enjoy doing that and if you think if it makes you feel good, then keep doing it. But if you're coloring your hair because there's an element of fear that you're not going to be accepted, you're not going to be liked, you're not going to be appreciated for your wisdom and experience and the years that you have put on this planet. And now I know some people turn gray early, even like in their 30s and stuff. But if you're now in your 50s, if you're in those midlife years and you are starting to get those gray hairs and you're like, I don't want people to see it. I don't want them to think I'm getting old. Well, I encourage you to think about it. Really, really think about it because I want you to think of the cost. Think of the cost of staying acceptable. And not just in the money, that you spend, whether you're buying your own, buying hair color and doing it yourself, or you're going to a beauty salon and having it done. And of course, the time it takes to do that, because, you got to leave that stuff on your hair for a while. But it's that quiet, shall we say, belonging tax that you pay when you feel like you have to stay acceptable to be taken seriously. Because if you don't question it, it doesn't just shape your hair. It shapes your habits. You end up editing yourself in other places too. Like you're not speaking your truth. You're not being visible. You're hiding yourself. You're not showing up at networking events, perhaps, or you're not, meeting friends, or just not raising your hand and volunteering and say, yeah, I want to do this. I'll step up and be a leader in this situation. And you're hiding your voice. So you're not speaking out. And what I know for sure is that if you have made it past 50, heck, if you made it past 40, frankly, that's not something to hide. It's something to celebrate. You know, really, it is something to frickin' celebrate. Because every year that you are alive and you are kicking on this wonderful, wonderful planet of ours is another chance you have to share what you've learned, to stop performing and start living, to design your life your way instead of following a script that someone else wrote for you. And maybe that's just about the most radical thing that we can do at this stage of our life. And in fact, frankly, it's maybe, I didn't say that the way I wanted to say that. Maybe the most radical thing we can do isn't to defy the culture. Maybe it's to stop asking for permission. Think about that. Yeah. This is a wonderful time of life that you're in. If you are in midlife, this is a really great time to be, because I don't know about you, but I know for me, every decade I've gotten through has been better than the last one. My 40s were decent. My 50s were really good. I did a lot in my 50s. And my 60s, I'm only a couple years in so far, but so far, I am loving it. I mean, in my 60s, I finally got up the nerve to really design my life my way. And I made a change in my marriage. And I'm living in my own apartment now and getting to decorate it the way I want. I have pictures on the wall. I've got a lovely, I inherited a plaque on my wall. Maybe one day I might actually do a podcast episode about this, but it's something I got from my mom, and it's the Serenity Prayer. And it says, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. And I love that, because that's something that they use in Alcoholics Anonymous, and I think also in Overeaters Anonymous, which my mom she also did that for a while too. Like I said, she in her midlife, she was really struggling with her weight, among other things, a lot of health problems. But when people pass in your life, you may wind up inheriting a lot of things. So I inherited a lot of pictures, I inherited a lot of documents, and from my mom, I also had inherited all of these books from Overeaters Anonymous. And it was interesting, just kind of perusing through some of them. And but I wound up donating them because I didn't want that energy in my apartment, because again, I've also had my own journey with weight. And if you have been a subscriber of the podcast when it was a couple episodes ago, when it was known as Live, Love, Engage. And so if you had especially watched, if you've been a subscriber to me on YouTube and looked at it, you will have seen over the years my weight go up and my weight go down. My weight go up and my weight go down. And I'm bound and determined that this last time I released a lot of weight last year, and I'm keeping it off. I'm keeping it off this time. I am very tired of that weight roller coaster. It's not healthy for you anyway. And I've been blessed so far, so good, in that I'm healthy. Unlike my mom, who was on every type of medication, it seemed like, because she had high blood pressure, she had diabetes, she had heart problems. And a lot of it was, I think, due to, well, she used to be a smoker a long time ago, but she quit when I was a kid. She stopped smoking so that she could pay for my dance lessons. Thank you, Mom. I appreciated that so much. I don't know that I told you that enough when I was alive, or when you were alive, but I'm telling you now, wherever you are, I really, really appreciate it, because I loved dance class. I took ballet, tap, and jazz, among other things, and loved it. But anyway, the Serenity Prayer, I want to go back to that for a second, because I think it applies even to the situation we're talking about here. So it's to accept the things I cannot change. Well, we're going to get older. God willing, you're going to wake up tomorrow, hopefully, and that's what I'm counting on, waking up again tomorrow. So that's something, we can't change. Hopefully you don't have control over how long you are going to be alive on this earth. So that's one thing. Courage to change the things I can. Okay, well, if you aren't happy with your gray hair, if you aren't happy about perhaps the wrinkles on your face, I know some people go and get plastic surgery. That freaks me out, so that's not something I would do. It took me years just to get my ears pierced, folks, okay? I was I was like, it took my daughter wanting to get her ears pierced, and I'm saying, well, I don't know, and she's like, if you get them done, Mom, what about that? And so I was like, okay, I'll get my ears pierced. If I get my ears pierced, then you can get your ears pierced. I should have done it years ago, because you can wear these lovely earrings and they're better than the clip-ons, which hurt. But anyway, so if you want to change, and you want to change your hair color, again, if you want to do it because it makes you feel good, that's the important thing. It's got to make you feel good. Don't do it for anybody else. Don't do it for your significant other because they don't like seeing gray hair. Don't do it for your boss, maybe, or don't do it for your employees or whatever. They'll have to deal with it if you don't. But if you do decide, then that's up to you. And so then the third part is the wisdom to know the difference. So that's where I always encourage. I always, when I'm working with my clients, I'm always telling them how important it is to go within and, spend time getting to know yourself, listen to your higher self, whether that is through meditation, whether that is through journaling, whatever way you have to be able to spend time to be still and know. And say, and it might be, maybe you like pendulums. I actually have a pendulum. Those are very cool. I didn't believe in that stuff for the longest time until I tried it for myself, and I was like, oh, it really does work. So, but anyway, that's a way of tapping into your higher self, your inner wisdom, your guidance, and sit with it for a while and say, okay, yeah, I got gray hair coming in, and I do. I'm fortunate that it almost looks like the frosting I used to spend money on, which is kind of cool. And it's coming in nicely, very slowly. I'm grateful for that. But you know what? If I eventually have white hair, fine, because it means that I've lived long enough to have all of that white hair, and again, that's something to celebrate. So be discerning about what you want to do. Do I want to color my hair? Do I want to stop coloring my hair? I didn't even mention that I said that I had colored my hair. You might be saying, well, why aren't you doing it now? Especially if you got gray hair. Well, I'll tell you why. I read a book a long time ago now. Gosh, it's probably over. Oh, yeah, I don't even remember what it was. Yeah, it was before my sister passed, so it's probably been 15 years now. And it was, I don't remember the name of it right now, but I will put it in the show notes when I do find the name of it. It was something about going gray, maybe going gray or something. But it was a book written by a woman who started going gray, and uh, she started interviewing people and trying to figure out and looking at our culture and looking at like the history of hair color and these messages that we get and about being reluctant to or being shamed. As I talked about at the beginning of this, I talked about shame, being shamed into the fact that we're supposed to be young and thin and we're supposed to look that way all the time. And I didn't even talk about, anyway, so she decided to stop coloring her hair. And so I did too after that. But I didn't even talk about one other thing here is the frickin' double standard there is. And again, especially in Western culture. And I don't know what it's like in Asia or places like that. But I know here in the West, especially the United States in particular, that when men turn gray, they're suddenly distinguished looking and heck, even sexy, I mean, let's face it, George Clooney looks really good with gray hair. I'll admit it. He looks, frankly, I almost think he does look sexier now that he's in his 60s compared to when he first started his acting career way back and when he was on ER, when he got his first really, really big break. But then again, then there's like Steve Martin. He turned gray, in his 30s, and he's been all white hair throughout his whole career. And he never tried to hide that. But why is it that women are meant to feel that, she's old if she's got gray hair? Now, I will say, over the last decade, maybe even more now, it seems to be changing a little bit, in that there are younger women who actually go in and get their hair dyed gray. And there are now actresses out there, like Jamie Lee Curtis is somebody that comes to mind. Helen Mirren is another one, who even Meryl Streep, I think, as well. She's got, gray hair or white hair and shows it. I'm just thinking of something else, but you know what? I'm going to probably save that for another. It's going to get me off on a different tangent. I'll save that idea for a future episode. It does go along with this, but it's like I think I'll deal with that in another time. The point is that it's still, I talk to friends who, in fact, I have a lot of friends, and I'm thinking right now, I've met some lovely women that meet every Monday morning for coffee. And then we do some oracle card readings. And they're most of them are actually older than me. They're probably in their 70s. They're one or two, I think, are even in their 80s. But I've noticed that they all color their hair. They're all blonde. I'm the only one who is brown with some little gray streaks coming in there. I might have to ask them, maybe, just out of curiosity, or maybe ask one of them when I get, just out of curiosity, and say, I'm doing a survey, and I'll just say, I'm curious, why do you color your hair? And in fact, if you would love to comment and let me know, what do you think about this? I would love to know. Do you color? And if so, why? Or if you've stopped coloring, contact me. You can reach out at me. Probably the best place is connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm at Gloria Grace Rand. You can find me on LinkedIn. That's a really good place to connect. Or you can even go to my website. You can go to GloriaRand.com or even GloriaGraceRand.com. And that'll work as well. And then just there's a contact button right on my homepage, or you can go to contact page, whatever. And let me know. I would be curious to know. And yeah, so I think that's where I'm gonna leave this conversation just for a moment, and then we're gonna come back. I'll kind of recap a little bit again at the end here. But what I want to do first right now is something that I do when I do my solo episodes. Is I like to share a healing modality that I have been doing now for 5 years, over 5 years now. And it is called light language. And it is for me at least, it's a sound healing modality. I speak and sing a language of love. And it's something that I'm able to, it's a multidimensional language that I share and that comes through me. I'm not, I'm not really conscious. I'm conscious while doing it, but I'm not the one just coming up with this. It comes through me. It comes through me from other sources. I'm just going to leave it at that. And if you want to know more about it, you can again reach out to me and I'll tell you more about it. But for brevity's sake right now, what I would encourage you to do is to listen with an open heart and an open mind, and not worry if you don't understand what I'm saying, because it's meant for your heart. It's meant for your soul. So if you're listening to this right now or watching it on YouTube, I encourage you to pause it, and especially if you are driving. If you're driving, if you're not driving, if you're just sitting down someplace where you can just be still and be quiet for a little bit, great. That's awesome. And what I would encourage you to do, and I do this with my clients as well, is I encourage you to set an intention. And maybe it's right now is to set an intention for clarity about what to do. Do I want to either continue coloring or start coloring or stop? So maybe just some clarity around that, or anything else that's going on in your life that you would love some support with. So I will invite you to, trusting that you've paused this, to just sit back and maybe just close your eyes, take a deep breath, exhale, and just kind of let the cares of the day or the evening, whenever you're listening to this, just wash away for a little bit. Ona ko kayo no Kahne kayo na kayo no ko ana ko na ya so ku sana ko wa se ko ku wa so hue kayo tu sano ku ano ya sono ko hue ya ayo ku anake sana kyan no eka ya heka soku ana ku eka ye Soyo no kia te ka ho Shonokoyaba nakiyano ana yokoyano karare asakanan nokriemo nokuyamana ana karie pasha katokuyana kariano kinkarere kalniano nokriemo kashikayamona kariao toko shamna kari pata asakasham nokriapata kuripa nanakiyatna ka alayano kushin kale pata shoni amokuyama ni kuripa Ayaku Hashakiyamanakua Mandaka Halai Hayato Hashakiyanaka. Thank you for listening. And I hope you received that with the love that was intended. Because it was intended to be for your soul's highest good, whatever you need right now. So I just want to say thank you. Again, I want to thank you for listening to the podcast, and I am so grateful that you are here, and I'm really looking forward. I'm so excited that I have changed the name of the podcast this year, and I'm calling it Design Your Life Your Way. I really, it so aligns with me, and I'm hoping it is resonating with you. And if so, I would love for you, just again, let me know, and leave a comment, leave a review for us wherever you are getting this podcast, and I also want to let you know one other thing too, is that if you are at a crossroads right now in your life where you're, going through something that has made you kind of rethink, like, do I want to keep going this way? Do I want to change gears? Or maybe something has happened and you just need somebody to bounce some ideas off of. You know what? I'm here. and I would love to talk with you. So if you want to, you can go to engagewithgloria.com, and that'll take you to my calendar. And you can schedule a call, no obligation. I'm not going to enroll you in a, coaching package or anything like that. Got a little bug flying around me. We'll just talk. And of course, if you find that you really resonate with me and you'd like support, of course, I will share some ways that we could do that. But I don't want you to feel, if you've been listening to me, I hope you know that I'm not a high pressure gal. That is not me at all. In fact, I'm probably too much of an under pressure person sometimes. But anyway, I'll put that in the show notes so you can have it. And I just want you to know that I'm here for you. And if it's not me, go reach out to someone else. If you've got another good friend or family member to talk to, or you've got your own coach, go talk to them about it. Know that there is always support for you out there. You do not have to go through life alone, trudging your way and just saying, yeah, it's, I'm going to figure this stuff out on my own. That gets exhausting after a while. So don't do it. And if you want to color your hair, do it because it makes you feel good. Don't do it because you think it's going to make you acceptable. Okay? That's my last word on the subject. So until we meet again, go out and make today great and fabulous and amazing as you are. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and it has inspired you to design your life your way. Make sure you check out the show notes in the description for a full rundown of today's important links. Share this with a friend on social media and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. And let me know what you enjoyed about this episode in that review. I really love hearing from you. And I want to remind you that you're never too old to start a new chapter.